Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. So this video has been a long time coming. This is going to be my Cricut sort of basic intro and review, for want of a better word. It's not going to be a full review. I'm not going to go too in depth into this, but just give you a basic kind of look at it, what it does, how it works, what you get, etc. This is going to be a really long video because I'm also going to do just a really basic introduction to the software. So what I would suggest you do is, while my little intro is running, go and grab yourself a cup of coffee, settle in, because this one could be a little while, but this is my Cricut review, so let's go. So obviously this has been out of the box for a little while. I got this probably back in October, I want to say, and it's taken me this long because I'm still trying to work it out. I'm going to put this little disclaimer at the start. I'm still not very good at using this. I don't think I will ever be very good at using this, but I'm going to show you guys what I think of it because I kind of need to. I've been telling you I'm going to do it for a while, and it does have some qualities, and you'll understand what I mean when I actually give you my full thoughts at the end. But there are some things about it that I love. There are some things about it that I really don't like. But we're going to start with just the basic what is in the box. So this is what you get. I got the Cricut Explore Air 2. This is in a mint green colour. It does also come in pink, which I've never seen in Australia, and like a denim colour, which is just starting to hit Spotlight now. I bought this from Spotlight. It retails, I think, for $4.99. I got mine for $4.49. It does come on sale. I'm going to put this out there. It does come on sale, so if you're going to get it, wait till there's a sale, because no one's got $500 to spend on this machine. But a lot of the times, just be careful with the fine print. Spotlight often says does not include machines, so just make sure that it's not excluded before you go in with your voucher, just to save time there. So there's all the pricing out of the way. I got it from Spotlight. We'll start off with sort of what's sort of here. So it runs on power, just to sort of show you the little thing at the back. Shut up, Ryan. It runs on power from a power outlet, just in case anybody has questions if it runs on batteries, was what I was trying to get at. Thank you, smarty pants. Plugs in at the back. It's also got your USB because it needs some kind of computer / iPad to run it. So if you do want to connect it directly to the computer rather than using the Bluetooth facility, which it does also have, that cord's there at the back. So flipping it back over, on the far right hand side we've got a couple of buttons. This obviously isn't plugged in. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to plug it in and show you how it works yet, but I'll get to that. So at the top here you've got your on off button. Very simple, you press that and it turns itself on. This is your dial, and this is how you select what you're cutting. So obviously the thicker the material is that you are cutting, the thicker, like the bigger the cut is. So this is where you tell it basically what you're cutting. So each of the little ones around here, so you've got paper, vinyl, iron-on, light cardstock, bonded fabric, and poster board. If you put the dial right on there, that's that setting. If you put it one to the left, that's paper, in this case minus, or one to the right is paper plus. So what that is if it's not quite, if it's paper but it's just a little bit thicker than normal paper, you put it on paper plus and it just gives it a little bit extra, just to make sure that it cuts properly. There's also a custom setting here, which is a bunch of different, like hundreds and hundreds of different kinds of materials. Basically, if there's a material that it can cut, it will know how. You just put it on custom and it comes up on the computer, which I'll show you when we get to sort of how Design Space works and that sort of stuff. And you can select anything you like. Here on the side here, you've got a couple of other buttons. This one here is the one that loads your mat, which I'll show you again in a second as well. Loads your mat into the machine. You got your Cricut button, which is your go button. You hit that and it starts cutting. And you've got your pause button, which is basically that it pauses whatever you're doing. Very, very, very simple in that respect. On the left hand side, you've got a little cup, and that's really great for holding accessories. You've got this little flap here, which is for your cartridge. So Cricut, with the ones that didn't run online, the Cricut cutters had like cartridges, kind of like, they remind me of like Nintendo cartridges that you used to plug in there, and then you could use whatever was coming on that rather than having to buy things on the internet, because that didn't exist. If you are someone that has got Cricut cartridges or knows someone that has a Cricut cartridge, you can still use them with these new ones, and you just plug it in there. And And then the other button here on the left is the open button. And this is the magic button that does this. Ha! And then you can see the inside of the machine. Mine is a little bit dirty and a little bit broken because occasionally I've done stupid things like try to cut without a mat. Don't ask me how I did that, I have no idea. Excuse you? Sorry, Jet's been in the car all day. We've just got back from camping and Jet's just decided he wanted to stretch, so he's just made a noise. So here you've got this is the cutting mechanism. It sort of moves back and forth along here, and you've got two kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Tool things. That's a bad example, but this one on the side here is where your stylus goes or where your pen goes, because this can write, it can score, can do a lot. So that's where your tool goes there, and then the B one is your blade. So that's where the blade always goes. The blade can be taken out and changed. It's just as simple as pulling it out and you change the blade over. This one's been well used, but still works rather well. And then also here on the front you have two other storage compartments. So if you open up this one, these are all shut with a magnet, which makes it really good for keeping little bits and pieces in. So this one has my spare blades, which live in there, so that's easy. And then this one has dog hair, same thing as everything in my house. At the moment it has a little slider, but sometimes I keep pens and stuff in here as well. But can generally keep whatever tools you choose to. And then it folds all the way back up again so that it stays dust free. Can leave it open if you want to. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. That's the basic, the machine. Then you get to move on to the fun accessories. So we'll just move this off. So the accessories that come in the box is a total of that. That's your cutting mat. This is a very dirty cutting mat. I will show you a clean one in a second, but this is sort of 6 months worth of, or 5 months worth of cutting. This is the standard grip cutting mat. You get one of these in the box. What I did, because I was trying to be smart and probably shouldn't have done, but I did, was bought a bunch of other accessories at the same time. So when I bought the machine, I also got the 3-pack of mats, and what that is, it gets you a standard grip, a strong grip, and a light grip mat. As you can see, the standard grip gets a heck of a lot more use than any of the other two. This light grip is good for paper, is good for anything that is going to tear more when you sort of pull it off. Your strong grip is great for fabric, for vinyl, for those kind of things, but also I want to see, I still don't know if it can, but maybe for balsa wood, I've got to see if that still does that. And your standard grip's basically anything else. So I use the standard grip because it's generally what I think is the easiest one to work on, which is why I have just recently bought 2 new ones. They come in a 2-pack. I bought these from Spotlight. Two of these for $19.95, or you can buy all 3. I think it's $44.95 for the 3-pack. Just because I don't tend to use the strong and the light all that much, I just got 2 new standard ones because it's just easier. The other things that I have bought, and they all live in here, this was the like the accessory kit, or the, I don't know what it's called, the essential accessory kit or something like that. And that came with these 5, and I'll put all the prices down below because I can't quite remember off the top of my head. So you get a little spatula, a set of tweezers, the mat remover, a pair of scissors, and a little pick. The pick's really good for getting really intricate bits of paper in. You just sort of grab hold of it and pull it up. I don't remember how much they were, but I'm going to put this right out, not worth it. The only one I've ever used other than sort of when I'm trying to clean my mat is that one. I've never once used the scissors. Mine are better. I do use that one when I'm trying to clean the mat, but then I've kind of given up cleaning the mat, so probably not the best. And then the other accessory that I got on the day was the stylus. This is a must-have. You have to have the stylus. If you want to make cards, if you want to make anything that you need to fold, you need to have the stylus. I think it's only like $12. It's not a bad price for it, and it's a really good stylus. I've actually used it for scoring other things as well. The other thing that I have a bunch of, it does come with one of the black pens, but I did buy a couple of others, and then a bunch of other colours. It goes down in the things I regret buying. Probably shouldn't have done it, did it, can't take them back, so just dealing with that fact. The pens themselves are fine, like they're not bad pens, they work. I got the fine ones, which is what the F stands for. I don't know if you can see on the back there. So you got the color, and then it's got an F for fine and an M for medium. I don't draw enough with it, to be honest. I sort of tend to cut with it as opposed to drawing. But I have them. Oh, there's a spider in that box. That's good. But anyway, those are the basic tools, and they're the ones that I got and that I have. I have also bought the extra pack of blades since having it, although I haven't put them in yet because I haven't needed to. All those can be purchased from Spotlight. They can also be purchased from Craft Online. You can buy them from the States. There are lots of different places you can get them. Find wherever has the best price and go with that. That's my big advice there. Right, let's get into some actual comparisons, things that I can compare this with. I'm going to steal most of this because I don't have a silhouette, so it's very hard for me to compare with a machine I don't have. But this is from a graphic that my friend Denise put up on Facebook. I will link to it down below, or I'll put it up somewhere so you guys can grab hold of it. The Battle of the Craft Cutters. Basically, your max cutting size on the Cricut is 23.5 inches by 11.5 inches, which means you can cut basically this far wide and then almost twice of these long. You can get those mats from Spotlight as well, the really long ones. I haven't had a need for one, so I haven't tried it yet, but it can cut that long. The silhouette can cut 12 inches across and 10 feet wide. So obviously that's a heck of a lot more than 23 inches for what I want to use it for, which is just basic crafting, and making cards and making stickers and stuff. I felt like that was too much. Both of them are connectable by Bluetooth. You don't have to connect this to a computer. You can do it via Bluetooth. Something I do know though is that you can only use the Cricut software, like the iPad, like the app can only be used on Apple. It can't be used on Android. So if you've got an Android, you don't have an Apple, you're going to have to use it on your computer, which then it doesn't matter if it's a Mac or a PC. The Cricut is faster than the Silhouette, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's better. The software, and I'm reading this straight off the screen, I'm not telling you anything that no one can find, is basic and great for beginners. That is a load of crap. I'm going to tell you that right now because I'm not bad with computers. In fact, I sometimes like to think I'm pretty darn good with computers, and I still can't work the bugger out. So we'll get to that in a minute, but I disagree with that statement. It is not basic and definitely not for beginners, but I can find ways to use it if it's the way they mean it. I understand what they mean, but for what I want to use it for, it's not basic. The Silhouette Studio is more advanced and has a steep learning curve. And that does have an app for iOS and for Android if you are interested in using on your phone. The guys that have reviewed this, and again I'll link it down below, have given the Cricut a 4.7 and the Silhouette a 4.6 out of 5. So they are so comparable, it's not funny. It's just they different ones for different people. It comes down to what you can afford, what you have access to, and what you like. If you want to do a Silhouette which has so many YouTube stuff, I see so much about silhouettes and I'm like, I wish I had got one because then at least I would have help. And that's what I'm hoping I can kind of do a little bit with the Cricut, is I can kind of help those people who did buy one who don't know how to use it kind of find out how to use it. So while I'm talking about how to use this, let's go ahead and make a project on the Cricut, see how it works, use the software. So I'm going to flip over to my computer screen and see if we can get this bad boy to work. Okay, so at the top here you can see I've got my little Cricut icon at the top. That's because I've already got this saved up here, so it's always accessible just at a click. I'm going to show you guys how to get to it not doing that. I can't remember now. I think it's Cricut Design Space, design.cricut.com. There we go. See, that's because I use my little thing over here. So it's going to take a second to load, and you just have to sign in. Very, very simple. You create a Cricut ID when you get it. That doesn't necessarily mean you've got anything, you have purchased anything. It's the signing up to it is free. It's just when you decide to start buying things. And I'll talk to you a little bit about the buying stuff as well. So what we'll do is I'm just going to make a really simple project just to sort of show you. And this is going to be one that comes out of the software, as in out of the Cricut design library. And then we can sort of think about doing something more complicated. This is what I think it means when they say that it's easy to use. To do one of these projects, yes, is very easy to do. It's not complicated at all. It's really just a simple click, 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 and you're done. So we'll find something that we can make. So we want planner stuff. So let's look for planner. And then basically anything that you see that has a little green A is something that I can get for free. Now I've signed up to a thing called Cricut Access, which gives me a lot of extra things that aren't available when you first buy it. Cricut Access is something that I wish I had done a little bit more investigation into. I don't think for what it's worth I'm getting my money's worth. I think I paid $100 for 12 months, which at the time seemed like a really great idea. Now something I don't think was quite worth doing that. However, it's already done, so I'm just dealing with it. I think that's what I'm doing with everything with my Cricut. I'm basically just dealing with the fact that it's already done. I'm going to make these bullet lists. This is something that I've made a couple of times before, and I really, really enjoy them. They're very cute. So, yeah, exactly. If you're anything like me, you have lists and scraps of paper all over the place. Exactly, that's me. So all you do, you click on whichever one you want. It tells you everything that you need. So you're going to need your Cricut Explore machine, which is either the Air 2 or anything else. The software, which you've got, a standard grip mat, a pen, some cardstock, and you don't have to have them in these colours. You can do them in whatever colours you like. Some double-sided adhesive and a notebook, and that's just to stick it into the book. So all you do is you hit make it, and it's going to sort everything into whatever you need to have. It's already pre-designed what size it wants all of this to be. If you want to change that, you can. You just go cancel, and you go customize. And that's when it's going to bring you into the actual design space. And this is where you can decide what color you want things to be, what you want them to say, etc, etc. So let's just say, for example, we want to make these all a little bit smaller. I'm just going to show you a really quick trick that I always do. Go into settings and go into the little dots here, lines here, sorry, and go into settings and just change it to centimeter. This is if you're in Australia. If you're in the States and you want to use it on inches, go for your life. But for me, I always flip that onto centimeters because it makes sense in my head. So these at the moment are going to be 24-ish. Hold on. It's actually going to tell me on the side if I actually read that. No, it's not. 22 centimeters high, and that's way too big for me. So I'm going to highlight all three and just shrink them down a little bit. So I'm going to make these 15 centimeters high, and I can do that by dragging and dropping, or I can do it up the top here. Just hit the little size button and just type in 15 and hit enter, which doesn't want to do. There you go. So it's gone as close as it can without changing the way the square is, because it's already locked this. Obviously, if you've got that unlocked, it's going to mess with what your shape looks like, and we'll sort of play around with it. So try and keep them locked if you can, unless you actually want to change the size or anything that you've got. I'm also going to make this one a little bit smaller, and I'm just going to make it just sort of that size. I don't know what that is. But you can always drag and drop things across to see if they still fit, because this will come out the exact same size as you have made it here. So that's all done, just to show you sort of other things you can do. So all of these have been attached to each other. So I'm going to hide everything except, I'm going to hide actually everything except the grocery list. And the grocery list, I'm actually going to try and change it. So you can do that and zoom in. So you can always zoom in so you can have a better look at what you're doing. And then I'm just going to unattach it, or detach it, I should say. So here I should be able to change something if I want to. So if I hit, I can change the color. So if I wanted to do that in a different color. Now what you've got to remember with that is it doesn't really matter what color I put it on the screen, because it's whatever pen I decide to put in the Cricut. So it can think it's printing it or typing it, writing it in candy corn, but it's still going to do it in black if that's the pen that I put in there. So just be aware that none of the colors are going to actually be right with your writing unless that's the pen that you put in there. What I was trying to do was try and change that so it didn't say grocery list, and so it said something else instead. But I don't actually think I can with this project. So in the same way that the color of the writing on here is actually determined by what pen you put in. The same thing with the color of your actual paper and what you're cutting out. This might be blue and it might say it's going to be blue, but when you actually put it in there, you can put any color you like. So I never stress out too much about what colors are here or what color they're going to write in pen. It's all going to come down to what I put on there anyway, so it's not going to make any difference at all. So what I'm going to do really quick is just reattach those so that they're all there, and then make them all, whoops, make them all seeable again. That's not a word, but it's a word I'm going to use. And then zoom out. So let's actually have a go at making this one. It's not going to be a hard one. So we've just changed the size, that's all we did there. Like I said, I ignore the colors completely because it doesn't matter. The only time it's going to matter is if you decide you want these all the same color. So let's actually try that. So I'm going to change this, and I'm going to change that to cream, and I'm going to change this one to cream as well. And that's all I'm doing is clicking on that color and picking the color that's there. It's always going to use the project colors there, so it's an easy way to match up what's there and what's not. And what that's going to do is it's now going to put that second one on one piece of paper instead of cutting it out on 3 different pieces of paper. So once I've got my 2 mats ready to go, we hit continue, and then you need to connect your machine. So that's a really simple thing to do. I'm just going to do that. Alright, so I've got it plugged in. You guys can't see the Cricut obviously at this point, but you will in a second. So it's just going to think about what it's doing. It's going to find the machine. This at the moment is looking for it via USB, but if I didn't have it plugged into the back, you could do that through the Bluetooth. And just back to what I was showing you before about the material and what happens when it's set on custom. This is what happens when you have that. You can then, it comes up with this thing here that says set material. So you can choose any kind of material that you like. Obviously the useful kind of easy ones are all here, and all you do is just turn the dial to get to whatever that is. But if you do have something that's not one of those, what you can do here is hit browse all materials, and it will give you absolutely every kind of material that this thing can cut. But for these purposes, we're just going to have it as paper, and I always put mine in paper plus, which is this little one here, just in case. It just saves it having not cut properly. So I've done that, and then it's going to tell me that I need to load a pen into clamp A. So we'll grab a pen, and we'll put that into clamp A, which is just you put it in there and you shut it. Really, really simple. We have the blade in clamp B, which is what we've got. And then we need to load the mat and press the load and unload button. So I'm going to grab my mat. This is my old one, but it really doesn't matter. As long as it still sticks, which it still does, that's all you need to do. So it's going to start off with the lists envelope. So that's the one I'm going to put in here. So all you do is you just stick this down on the mat. Try and make it as square as you can. Just that way it's going to cut properly. And then you load this into the Cricut, just pushing the mat in each side, and then you hit the load button. That's then going to grab hold of it through the little rolly things, and then what you do is you hit this little flashing Cricut button, and it's going to go. So I'm going to put this, hopefully this will work. This one should work. I should have no issues with something as simple as this. So I'm going to hit go, and I'll let you see what it does. Done. My screen now tells me it's time to unload the mat, so you just hit the load button, and then it's basically finished. What it then comes up on the screen is it says that you need to set the material and the paper, set the material and the tools for the second part of the project, which is the actual other lists. So just pull the paper off here. Something that I've learned, which is a little tip, always fold your mat away from your paper as opposed to your paper away from your mat when you're taking stuff off, just because that way it doesn't curl the paper, which is a pain in the bum. Then we'll put, I should have done this around the other way, but anyway, then we'll put the other piece of paper on the mat. Try to make it straight if you can. You don't have to use 12 by 12 paper either. You can use A4 paper. The one little thing I will say though is keep in mind that the Cricut is American and that it works on letter size paper, not A4 size paper, and it doesn't understand when you try and tell it that you're using A4. Not an issue when you're using projects like this one, not even close to being a problem. But when you are doing especially stickers, it does become a bit of an issue, and I'll talk about that in just a sec. So I'm going to speed through this next bit. It's going to draw it all out and cut it. This is going to take a minute, so I'm going to let it do its thing and I will be back in just a sec. This was just something I wanted to show you during all of this. This is where it tells you that you need a tool change. So when I was making this, I changed the color. So these two have been writing in midnight, which is what it thinks it's been writing in, but I've actually been writing in the black. All it's telling me here is that I need to change my pen. So if I was using two different colors, you just pick this one out, you just grab hold of it, pull it out, and put the other one in. This is what I meant when I said you really have control over what you put in here. It doesn't know that this isn't the black one or the midnight one. It still thinks it's whichever one you've told it you've put in there. So just be aware of those little things when you're doing it. That just because it thinks you're working in midnight doesn't mean you actually are. So all I'm going to do, because it stopped, I'm just going to hit my Cricut button again and it's going to go ahead and finish the project. To finish that off, you just unload it and you've got the mat out. I always take my pens out when I finish just so that I make sure they don't go dry, because that would be horrible. And then you just have to flip the mat and pull your lists off. It's just so you don't fold the paper or roll the paper like I said. And then you've got your little pocket and you've got your lists that pop in it. When it says, when the review thing says that it's very easy to do, that's simple as heck. Anyone can do that. It's very, very easy. When it comes to making stickers and things like that, that's where I've been having all of my trouble. I bought the Planners Anonymous Loved Up kit. You guys saw the week that I did with it and I loved it, but that was the most frustrating 48 hours of my life because I could not for the life of me work out how to do it. So when it comes to that, and I'll have to do a whole other video on SVG files and stickers and stuff like that because it's just too in-depth to go into right now. That's a whole other kettle of fish, and it can become more and more frustrating because you're wasting product, you're wasting time, and you just get very, very annoyed. So if you guys want to see a full video on using an SVG and how to put that into the Cricut, let me know. I'm going to put my hand up now though and say I'm still having issues with it, so I don't know how well or how good my advice will be, but I'm happy to make that video for you, make myself look like an idiot, to try and help you guys as much as I possibly can. Because I don't think the Cricut isn't worth it, I just think the Cricut needs to be thought of as a tool that you kind of need to invest in. It's like anything. The more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. And I feel like I haven't given this the time it needs, which is ridiculous considering I've had it for 5 months. But there is a steep learning curve for how to use this. And I can't compare it to a silhouette because I don't have one. But I can show you just a little example of something that I've made. So this is going into my new social media planner that I've been making. I just put this through the software. I just put these little JPEGs in and cut them out the way that it told me to on the software, and they're still not right. They've never been right. I can't get them to be right, and it is the most frustrating thing. I'll zoom in a sec. But they're just not what I want them to be. And that's actually sort of why I've been buying more and more stuff off Etsy lately, because at least when I get them, they're right. Whereas when I make them myself, they're not. So sort of to go over my final thoughts on this little bit's going to be a while, but it'll take a while. When it comes to the software that comes with this, the design space itself is okay. Like, it's not a complicated thing to use. It's very simple to use the software. It's when it comes out of the software and into the machine that I seem to have my issue. Like I said, it doesn't understand A4, it only understands letter. And in Australia, most of the stuff we buy is A4, not letter. So your printing is always going to be a little bit different, which therefore means your cuts are going to be a little bit different, which is where I think this issue is coming with it being slightly off center. That's a whole other video worth of issues to put through, so I'm not going to go too much more into that other than just to say that. Just be aware of that size difference, and that's going to cause you problems. If someone wants to explain to me how to get over that, I'd really, really appreciate it. The other problem with it being an American product, and there's a lot of American products out there, and I usually don't have very much of an issue with any of them, but the user, or the help center is really set up for Americans, not set up for Australians, to the point that actually if you buy the software, buy the Cricut Access, which is that sort of, it's kind of like a clip art library, but that's a bad way. It's the library full of fonts and projects and little pictures that you can put into it. If you buy that, you have to put in an American address. You can't put an Australian one in because it doesn't support Australian. So I've put in an American address. I've used one of my friends and she says that's fine. Still takes an Australian credit card, so you can certainly get around it. But the issue that I've seen so far is that the second I mention that I'm in Australia, if you're talking to the help desk, which the help desk is great but runs on American time, as soon as you mention you're in Australia, Cricut doesn't support Australia and you basically get no answer out of them from that point onwards. I have had one very, very good experience with them when they not only answered the question in really good time, but then they emailed me to double check that I did get the answer I wanted, which was fantastic. But generally speaking, the second I say I'm in Australia, they cut off contact. They don't want to talk to me because they don't support Australia. Spotlight have not been particularly helpful with this one either. They were very quick to get the product on the shelves, not so quick to explain how to use it, and I think with a product like this it really needs to be explained how to use it. They have started running workshops on how to use these. As yet they have not done one at a store close to me, but as soon as they do, I'm going to be at one because I still need to understand how to use this to its full potential. So that's sort of the other thing is that it's very frustrating having the Cricut Access, which gives you 10% off everything in the physical store as well, and still having to pay a lot for the mats. Like I said, these two were only, sorry, I'll get them out. These two were only $19.95 and I did get them on discount, so I got them for $13.95 for one pack. That's good, but you can buy them in the States for $6, which frustrates me because I'm still very with that, and they won't post to Australia because again they don't support Australia. It's just a frustration. It's not a bad thing, I guess. It's frustrating when I have a 10% discount off everything and I can't use it. But like I said, I probably shouldn't have got the Cricut Access in the first place. I think that's all I need to tell you. Overall, I'm not happy with my purchase. I shouldn't have bought it, and I shouldn't have bought it because it's something I don't need. I was fine without it. What I thought I would do was I would make all my own stickers, and that would make life so much easier. For what I do for you guys especially, that's ridiculous, because half the stuff I like to show you is the stuff I buy, and if I'm not buying it and I'm making it myself, that kind of defeats the purpose. But I'm not very good at making stickers. Like I can't draw. I've tried, can't do it. I'm not very good. I don't like my own handwriting, so that doesn't help. But what I do love it for is I love it making cards. It makes some of the most beautiful cards. In fact, I'll put a little super wrap of a card I made my grandma that is just beautiful. For that, it's worth every cent. But is it worth for $500 to make cards? Probably not. Ryan hates me for saying this because I don't like wasting money either. I don't think anyone does. And it's not a waste, but it's just, I'm not using it like I thought I would, which is what I thought I would use it every single day and make myself all these wonderful stickers and projects and things to use. And I just don't. Most of the time it's just a pretty thing that sits on my shelf, which is disappointing. I did consider giving it back. I did consider taking it back when I couldn't get it to do the Loved Up kit. but in the end I did find a way to do it. It was just a really difficult, frustrating, pain in the ass workaround that I don't want to ever have to do again. I really don't. I'm not going to say to anyone don't go out and get it, but if you're someone that loves to buy stickers, and let's face it, if you're watching this channel you probably love to buy stickers, don't ruin the fun of buying stickers with this, because it just makes you think about the person on the end of their Cricut or their Silhouette making these stickers and how frustrating it must be sometimes when they get miscut stickers or ones that don't work. It just must drive people crazy. So don't go through the pain of having to know what that's like. Like I said, I'm not going to get rid of it, but yeah, I kind of wish I hadn't spent my money on it. But I'd love to use my channel and you guys as a way to force me to get better at using this and learn more about using this. So if you do want to see something, let me know. Leave it down below or on any of my social medias, and let's see if we can learn how to use this together. If you've got one, if you've recently bought one, I know there was a sale recently that you could get one of these for just under $300, which is insane. But if you're someone that got one and you're sort of a little iffy on how you use it, let me know down below what you want to make with it, and I'll see if I can find out, and we'll see if we can attempt it together. Have to work out how to do that with my cameras, but we can get to that. But that's something that I'd be more than happy to do, and use this a little bit more and use you guys as a reason to use it, because then I wouldn't feel like I've wasted my money quite so much. So that is it for my review. I hope that answers at least a couple of your first basic questions of how do I use it, what can I use it for, how does it work. I do love watching it make things. That's great. I seriously sit there and watch it draw things all the time because it's just awesome to watch. It just doesn't quite do what I want it to do. Like I said, if you have any requests on using the Cricut, leave it down below. All my socials are down there. Make sure you subscribe so don't miss any of the videos. I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic weekend. Do some Cricut cutting if you've got one. Show me how to use it for goodness sake. And I'll see you guys again on Monday. See you later. Bye.